And we're back with another episode of What the
Chill Podcast.
All right, guys, it's another amazing day. As you can see, we are in beautiful Florida, and this is a pre-recorded episode. Hey, man, don't take away the steam. We're both in Florida. This is the last podcast where we're both in Florida, okay?
It is. Wow, man. Dude, you had to put it all you put it on hard right at the get-go.
Out the gate.
I'm like, dude, it's finally in the 70s down here, and I'm like, now they're talking about flurries up in Ohio, and guess what, guys? Call me crazy, but I've never not been crazy, so this is just another notch underneath my belt as far as I'm concerned.
For sure, man, for sure. So for those that are wondering why there is no guest announcement in our description this week, for many reasons, Ed and I decided not to have a guest this week. Ed will be leaving on Friday, right? Friday to move back to Ohio. There's a lot of things going on. We wanted to update you guys. We wanted to have some chats about things we're working on, things we're doing.
Yeah.
And kind of give you guys a break from those long episodes with all the information. Now, Ed and I are cool. We don't mind doing the long podcast, but we do want to give you guys, some good information in a smaller, chewable piece tonight.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it comes down to, you got to dial in at some point, sometime, and this is our way, I think, just dialing in with you guys, whether you're new to the podcast, whether you've been watching it every week, we want to make sure that, we are on point with you guys and understanding, we are going to be going through a whole new revamp of What the Show podcast, and for the new year, even we got some, good specials for you, even a tail end of the year, but we want to keep it fresh, interesting, and not just go through the days. And we have some amazing speakers. We always have. We always will try to give you the best. But ultimately, we want to let you guys know, where our hearts are, where we stand. Because, I think that's of utmost importance, going forward, into the new year. I mean, we started off hot, and guess what? We finished off boiling. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
our guests for the rest of this year are pretty solid too, man.
Next week, can't wait.
I was telling one of my coworkers the guests we have in 2 weeks. So every morning, it's kind of the 4th grade ritual at my school. When the kids come in, they watch videos, and all of them are about animals because 4th graders at our school love animals. Well, I've kind of gone through a variety of different videos, but right now, between myself and my colleague, our classes are watching Brave Wilderness videos. And so I told my colleague, I said, hey, man, the guests that I have on our podcast in 2 weeks, they've actually been on Brave Wilderness and recorded episodes with them. Imagine that. And my colleague was like, wow, you guys are to the point where you have guests that are world renowned. And I was like, yeah, man, some of the guests we have probably deserve to get paid by us for being on the podcast. We were little fish compared to some of the things they've done, but
that's the beauty about the community, man. You know what I'm saying? And that is literally a tribute to the community. I mean, just for the love of animals and sharing knowledge. I mean, that goes far beyond any kind of dollar signs. I mean, Cody, I know you and me both can vouch for each other. It's just all about the sharing, and getting people to get the best, knowledge and best content and reputable content and information. Because if we can help save, and this is going to the extent of saving an animal's life or proper care and treatment, or even knowing what you're getting into before you even think you want an animal, or even or even want to get in the field. I mean, we've explored, dude, almost every avenue you possibly could just within this, this time frame of doing this. But if we can give someone, hey, look, I think I heard about this, or I seen a title about this on What the Show podcast, they've had good quality people, and they care about the betterment of animals and species, whether it's hobbyists or enthusiasts or conservation. And I want to go there and check it out. I think that goes far beyond anything that we could ever do. Google has a lot of great information, but it also has a lot of information that's hard to navigate. So
Hey, and speaking on that, I think before I mention what I'm about to mention in a second, I think it's important to note that I like that we provide it in a platform where those who might not be scientific experts on these animals or topics that we're talking about can still tune in and still gain, knowledge. I think it's important that, I'll say this as a teacher myself, especially. It's important that we remain learners. Even as a teacher, I'm learning stuff. My students are always going to be learning. As parents, we're always learning. We have to absorb information. And I think through the podcast that we've done, I feel like I've learned a lot of information. And I'd like to believe that our guests have definitely learned stuff, and our viewers, more importantly, have. But what I wanted to say was, bro, this is podcast episode 25.
Wow. That's crazy.
I have to admit, when I came up with this idea and I reached out to, different people to see like, hey man, would you watch me talk about a podcast about turtles? And some people were like, yeah, and some people were like, depends. I didn't think we'd get to the point where we had 25 podcasts. And it's not that this is the end, because we have quite a few booked with some amazing things that we're planning and rebranding and things of that nature. But I don't know, man. I just felt like I don't think I thought I'd A, keep up with it, or B, there'd be an audience.
So let me tell you something. So let me ask you something. Okay, it's November 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Election day. There's a lot coming up. But, one word that came to mind was, what's the next holiday? Thanksgiving. I mean, we're thankful. I'm to a whole new level of just being here, being able to just sit down and just talk animals. I mean, you, me both, have sacrificed and committed and for this, it just doesn't happen out of the blue. It takes diligence.
For sure.
And we can only hope that our repayment is just for people to actually learn stuff. So the feedback that we've gotten has been incredible, and that just keeps us fired up and keep going. So we appreciate all you guys' feedback and continual support, and sharing and and all that stuff. It's not all about the shares and likes, but it is when we know it's reaching a higher, of especially not even the realm of reptiles, man. We've had so many different people. I know I have people that have nothing associated to do with animals in general, let alone reptiles, and they're tuning in.
Yeah.
And whether I see them on a here and there basis, daily basis, or a weekly basis, they always mention it, and that's just reassuring, knowing that look, even if they're coming on because they know me, they're gonna learn something. And I think the cool thing I think you were getting at with sharing information was that although we've had a lot of, I will put it this way, I believe each person we've had has presented and shared their own high caliber information, knowledge, passion, and who they are. That's first and foremost who they are. But I also believe that it was, people, whether you were new to the hobby or turtles or in conservation, whatever it is, you want to call it, whether you were new or not, you were able to grasp. It wasn't something that you tune in and you'd be like, dude, I'm totally lost. I don't understand anything they're saying. And although they might not understand what they're saying, the way we compact it and the guests and between you and me, we were able to give it to so anybody can chew on it and have something to learn and grow and not just be so lost. I think that was really cool. And that goes with what you guys, posting comments and asking questions and interacting. We love that, guys. So don't ever hesitate to just comment, and ask questions, because that's why we're doing this also. Because if we can give you an answer right then and there at that moment, that's great. That's even more critical. That's why we do it live. That's why we do it on video. So you can see our faces, you can see our interaction, you can see the guests, you can feel like we want you to feel like you're right there sitting there with us having a conversation. Right.
Hey, I was thinking about it, and I know we've talked about having a bunch of different guests back on for future episodes, but pretty soon we're going to get to that point where we're going to need to. And it made me think about, through all the episodes we've done, the 24 other episodes, which has been your favorite guest?
Dang, dude, you put me on the spot. You were
You're on
talking
the
about
spot.
it. You were talking
On
about
the
it.
spot.
You were talking about it. I'm like, dude, this dude set me up. I'm like, but that's why you got to have someone you know and like this because.
You want me to tell you who mine is so you can think about it?
No, I already knew. I already knew as you were speaking. And
Okay.
guess what? And this is no offense to any of them, but
Okay.
the person it is the one that they will see on the holiday special.
Really?
Yes, hands down. Because I don't know if it was just because I was able to meet them personally and do a live.
All right, take that one away.
No, dude. You didn't specify.
No,
because guess what? They're
I
going to find
understand.
out. And guess what? They're going to have to be like, oh, that's in the back of my mind now. Guess what? They're giving some
No.
to anticipate.
You can keep that one. What has been your favorite one, like recorded like this digitally?
All right, you're gonna have to go because I gotta think about that.
So you think about that one, and I'm curious because I feel like there's a little bit of a difference between you interacting with that person in person versus digital.
Oh yeah, of course.
I think my favorite one has probably been Terrapin Nesting Project.
Kathy?
Yeah, I think so.
Honestly, that's the first thing that instantly came to mind, only because
I think it's who we are as individuals. I
think
because we both have a profound love for that species.
Guys, we didn't plan this and said that. I didn't say that just because, like, seriously, that was the first thing that came to mind. So keep going.
I think it's because we both have a profound love for that animal, and not to say the other groups that we've talked to that work with terrapins aren't doing the same. But for me, she was the first person that was a teacher, so that related directly to me.
She's a pioneer, man.
Yeah, and B, some of the things she did were like complete whims. So like her filing for the grant for the program to even start it, whim. Like she was just like, let me just try it.
You know? She did it not expecting anything in return.
Right.
Other than what our purpose and why we love the animal is to see that animal prosper and to flourish. And we're taking everyone out of the equation because everyone has their lane and their niche.
Right.
Okay. But to her caliber and doing it this long, and I think a big tribute that you can also, just from the person in general, you can speak for the fruit of the labor, right? The fruit of the labor and the people that she surrounds herself with. The people that she surrounds herself with are people that have gravitated towards her, that want to just be around. Dude, these people are spending a full-time hourly job with her, forgetting the fact that they're getting paid, forgetting the fact that they've even spent 8, 9, 10 hours there. They're
also not biologists, bro. They're
no, man. She and the fact that, you know, I won't even go one step further. You know, she has gotten the community
that was the big one
on lock. She has got the community on lock as far as
the
respect, the appreciation, things that we could only hope for, not just for even terrapins, but for almost every species in general, dude. Yeah. I mean, that is our ultimate goal. I mean, and she has written a book on it with her life.
I was going to say the last part you said, how she has the community involved. I think that for a lot of people that have like different, you know, projects like that, where they're trying to help certain species of animals that don't involve the community, for people like you and I, who, you know, are not directly working in these specific fields, it can be tricky on how we can get involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've lived that, since graduating in 2011, with my wildlife management degree, and you guys have heard me talk about it now. I finally got a shot to be able to actually work at the Toledo Zoo and navigate some of those waters that I've a passion for, that I'm able to actually get involved with and get paid for it, which is great. But I mean, just the fact that I'm able to live a dream out it's really encouraging, and I'm thankful, also with that, because that also entails opening up the door for the community, an avenue for the community to be able to speak to people, and yeah, whether the species is native or not, especially with the zoo realm, most of the species you find at the zoo, aren't native. But there are, but it just it's going to be an
So
exciting venture, man.
I'm going to put you on the spot for a second because I have to take a phone call.
Okay.
So I think it's time that you tell them a little bit more about your calendar. But I saw you had one in person. Do you mind for a few minutes showing them some of the pictures? Maybe one or two. We're not going to let you show them all because they need to purchase it.
No. I think I can. I think I can go through a couple. I won't go through the whole thing because I don't want to bore people. But I've already posted a preview on it, and I think throughout the weeks I'll leading up. I'll anticipate a little bit here in sneak peeks. But yeah, I can definitely do that since you want to leave me already. And yeah, so
hey, it's just gonna be a second. But also, if you get bored, I think you should tell them how you're moving all your animals to Ohio.
Oh God, I don't even want to think about that.
Like,
I got you. I got you.
The strategy.
Yeah,
so I'll be back in just a second.
All right. So hopefully no one tunes off. Just don't tune off right now, okay, guys? I mean, bear with me now. You already muted yourself, okay? So all right, guys. So Cody put me on the spot. So stick with me. You will learn a little bit more. So as you guys know, we mentioned last week. I just finally got my calendars in, and for you guys that don't know, Kamar Outdoors is my brand, my legacy, my what I have to give to the world from a youngster, and from my book readings, and I do a calendar every year. I didn't last year, but the year before that, I do photography on the side also, and I love animals so much to where I just like to do photography and capture great, incredible moments. And it's not something that I do full time. I just do it on the side, and I get cool shots. And I want to be able to share any way, any way I can with people, animals in general, species especially that a lot of people maybe get exposed to. So that's why a lot of my calendars you'll see animals that you might not see regularly, and some actually from this past calendar you probably won't even see almost in the zoo, just because they're a little bit more of a niche and particular species. So you can contact me. That was a really quick sec. I didn't even get to my calendar. So obviously,
talk too much, maybe.
Yeah, right. So here's my calendar. Brand new refurbished logo, Kamar Outdoors, where roots run deep. And as you can see right here, it's the special edition reptile collection. Because I pretty much, obviously, it's not a coincidence that this past year that with the podcast, everything, I dialed in a little bit more on reptiles this year, as opposed to, in the previous years, I had a whole variety of animals that I, have been able to photograph. So these will be available for purchase. Just contact me. I can put them on my website also. So for the holidays, perfect gift. So I think right now, and this is just because I love you guys, I'm gonna share with you actually my favorite picture in the whole entire calendar, just because of how up close and personal I was able to get to it, and just because it's one of my favorite species, in particular with the crocodilians. So I got really up close and personal with some crocs, and it was amazing. So the first one, you guys see.
Was that Spectacle King?
So
was that right?
It's I forget one of the guys. And then hold on one second. I got this one that I got to show you this other one just because. Actually, you know what, Cody? How about I was gonna save this for a rainy day, but I'm just gonna go ahead and share with you guys this one because I think Cody and most of you other terrapin freaks will appreciate this one. All right.
What kind of camera are you using? It's not that crappy Android phone camera you got.
Oh no, man! This is a legit. This is a legit Nikon, man. I mean, it's not top notch, but it gets the job done, And
nah, man,
I'm able to get up close and personal, and I will share one more, okay? And this is actually my other second favorite. Not to put anything against a terrapin, but this is probably the up close and personal I've ever gotten. So this is actually a Nile crocodile. a Nile croc, and obviously you see how close I was to it. So yeah, and there's a ton of other ones that, you know, and I didn't just include crocs, even though they are one of my favorite other than turtles. I got snakes in there.
Let us see a snake, man. Okay.
So and that's probably not even exaggeration that how close that snake was to me. So it was coming right up to my camera. I could have kissed it. So it's about a 12, 13, 14 foot retic. So yeah.
So, bro, what's the plan? How are you moving your animals? You've texted me. You're getting totes. You're doing this, but like, what is the legit plan?
Other than getting the kids situated, getting the house situated, obviously I got my own trailer just specifically for all my animals, and between all the tubs and, you know, obviously, you know, I got a lot of big.
So you're
tubs.
taking truck, trailer, U-Haul?
Yeah, we got a U-Haul for the house, but the trailer will be for all the tubs. That way I can flip them upside down, put them in there. I'm going to be transporting all my turtles in separate. Each one is going to have their own separate container, because it's about an 18-hour drive. So
are you insulating them?
Yeah, and they will be insulated inside. I'm going to have most of them in the cab with me, just to make sure, you know, the ones that need the temperature, you know, the acclimation, you know, but it's only going to be for a short period of time. I'm going to be nonstop on the road. I'm driving straight through, so it's not a fun ordeal. I've never had to do it. I've had to transport here and there before, but nothing to this caliber, you know. So
how many animals?
I don't know.
You don't know how many you have?
Yeah, I don't know how many. I lost count. They're all turtles, though. Obviously, I will have the dogs with me as well.
The dogs are going to be with you too?
Yes, I'm going to have all the animals. My wife is with my mom's going to be manning all the kids. So I'll take the animals over the kids because they don't scream back.
What are you insulating the tubs with?
I'm going to be putting towels over them and blankets and just making sure that, you know, with plywood and making sure I have a good frame plywood board to make sure that whether they're stacked or whether they're individually, you know, put together side by side, make sure they're all tight knit, concealed, and just make sure, they're just ready and strapped in for the ride. Minimal water, not putting a lot of water because you don't really need a lot of water, you know.
I was gonna say 18 hours, bro. I wouldn't put any water.
Yeah,
if I were you,
I put a little bit, but not enough to where, you know, that water is going to dictate and acclimate, you know, change their temperature and drastically, you know, with the temperature change coming from down here to all the way up north. So yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say something else. I was reading, in our Diamondback Terrapin group. Other thing I would do is make sure you don't feed them before they leave. Like feed them the day before, let them, you know, bask and whatnot. But honestly, bro, I'd use those plastic totes like you said. I'd throw a towel in there. They'll bury themselves in the towel. Like that's how I dry dock animals anyways. In 18 hours, even if it becomes 24 hours, like have some jugs of water. If you feel like you need to give them some water, do that.
I mean, you got to think about, you know, any person we've talked about, they, you know, how do we ship animals?
Exactly.
You know, we don't ship them in water. I mean, you know, we don't even have to go the full extent with, you know, peat moss and all that stuff if we don't want to. But I mean, water is just messy and it's, you know, don't get me wrong. If it was any longer, then, you know, we'll have to reconsider some things. But
peat moss would be a good idea too, but it'd be hard to get that much peat moss to fill as many tubs as you probably need to fill for how many animals you have.
Yeah.
When you can use a towel, and I mean,
so it's gonna be fun, but I'm looking forward to it's gonna give me extra fire up in, you know, behind to just get up there, you know, as quick as I can, as safely as I can. You know, I gotta put that, you know, thing. But yeah.
Do you want to share with the viewers about your change of enclosure, like how you're changing up the stuff as you're preparing?
As far as, you know, when I get up there, I'm gonna be dialing in a little bit more on the enclosures as far as being able to monitor them better. I guess you could say, you know, and I'm all for big, huge enclosures, but I think especially with the whole cold season and you know, brumation, and they're gonna have to be going through and acclimate to for the ones that do, you know, and they're not staying outside. They're going to be inside or in, you know, a pole barn, you know, heated and stuff like that. But it's still going to be, you know, the temperature's not going to be in Florida. You know what I'm saying? It's not. But I'm still keeping them inside, indoors. Yeah, man, I'm just fine tuning. I'm doing not very much smaller enclosures, but something that I can really be able to monitor and control the best of my capabilities. You know, we can't control everything, but we can, you know, do our due diligence, whether it's the size and you can better acclimate, you know, control the water temperature and, you know, and visually see the animals better rather than in some big enclosure.
So how are you doing it? I guess is what we should explain to them. Like what are you going from to what are you doing? Planning?
I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, I got a lot of couple 300s and, you know, I'm dialing it back to like 180s just to be able to control it better, you know, and yeah,
so for those of you that don't know, check your local Tractor Supply if you're, you know, in a state that has Tractor Supplies, because Tractor Supply now sells a 180 and a 300 stock tank.
Yeah,
and
yeah, the 300s Rubbermaid, and then actually the tough stuff was the 180. So I mean, you got two different options when it comes to, you know, the stock tanks, and yeah, so that's, you know,
if you go to Tractor Supply, there's other brands, bro.
Yeah. So,
what is it? Beelan, I think, makes some too.
Yeah, something like that. So, and then you got the big, you know, blue ones and, you know, acrylic, and you get all kinds of different stuff. I mean, it's really your own cup of tea, what you're doing, and you know what you want. So, but yeah, So,
what are you gonna filter those 180s with?
I got a couple Fluval FX6s just to do the job temporarily, you know, and make sure the water flows good and clean. And yeah, I'm gonna probably work on some more custom stuff as well. But like I said, you know, I'm really trying to get the animals, you know, under control, you know, and monitored that way, you know, because I'm still gotta go up there, move, start my new job at the zoo, still have 3 kids, newborns.
And, are you gonna do them species specific or project specific?
I think I'm gonna do really species, just because of the fact that, you know, I can always fine tune it.
I should say subspecies specific.
Yeah. You know, either or. You know, I'm not gonna think about it too much at the beginning. I'm just gonna make sure that I know what works. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm gonna do what I know what works for them right now.
Yeah.
Rather than try to explore some new thing, because that's only gonna do them ill will. You know, if something were to happen, it's not worth it. You know, that's why, like how me and you in the world, we always preach, and, you know, just make sure that, you know, the animals take care of to the best of your abilities for where you're at. You know, whether you have them in a glass tank or a stock tank or a pond or whatever it is, man. You know, and work what you got to where, you know, what if we, you know, when we get our new home and just everything, just we're able to do, you know, then you can take a step up. Because I think if you try to do everything all at once, that's where a lot of people, they go wrong and they miss something. And, you know, which all that could have been avoided from the get-go if you would have just kind of dialed in and seen the bare minimum basics. Because really, if you cover your basics, that's all you really got to do. I mean, everything else is a bonus. And don't get me wrong, it definitely does the species justice even more. But, you know, stick with the basics. So,
hey, I got to be honest, man. I mean, for those that don't know, I did share the weather this morning on Swamp Life Reptiles Instagram page of the weather when I woke up. It was 46 degrees when I woke up here in North Florida. It is not 46 degrees now. I will admit it's probably in the 70s as I sit outside. But I say all that to say I had the intentions. I've actually filmed a YouTube episode where I talk about my winter setups, but I decided not to release it for a couple of different reasons that I don't care to share right now. But what I was going to say, Ed, is this is the first time that I've had empty stock tanks in a long time, bro.
That's okay. I'm going to be, what you said, half hour, 40 minutes, just, you know, stopping by, man. So throw it in the U-Haul and, you know, I'll take care of it for you. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
so, and I think I'm going to explain partially why. So in the past, I've kept all my terrapins separate by size, not necessarily subspecies. What I ended up doing for this winter is I kind of have them separate by subspecies. So I have my concentrics and my Mississippi. They're outside in my outdoor pond. That's a 300-gallon stock tank with 3 turtles in it. They're definitely enjoying it. I'll film a video if I see them up and alert today, and send it to you. But then I have all of my ornates in my waterland tub, and that is 3 females, 2 males. And that was the first time I put all 5 of them together. So they've been in different combinations, kind of like you said before, you like to make sure they interact. But one of my females, the smallest one, she had never been with another terrapin because she was always smaller. And so I put her in, and she was like a puppy dog, man. Like, no problems. The bigger ones didn't care. And we're talking about probably like the difference between like here and here.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think out of all the terrapins I've owned, I very rarely have problems like bringing ones together as long as they're near the same size. Even less problems with ornate. All the problems that I've ever had have always been northerns.
Yeah.
And then I have Mango, the Mangrove. I finally moved her inside. So she's in an aquarium. It's a 55-gallon aquarium. It's not a huge aquarium. But it made me think of when we mentioned like raising them in glass so that they can socialize with you and like really learn you before you move them into tubs. She never got that. She was raised by a breeder in New Jersey, and you can tell like you can't get near her without her like completely leaving. And now that she's in the glass, like in just 2-3 days, I've already seen her being more comfortable, like coming up and like interacting and knowing I'm not going to eat her, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Size is always a good. I think that's a big, key element that you want to think about whenever you think you want to integrate or establish, as any of your animals, let alone species, but also size, and that's because you're always gonna have interaction is inevitable, so you got to really think about that and put it at the forefront. So.
I think with the smaller female ornate, she's only probably a half an inch smaller than the male ornate. And so I was like, the bigger females are already used to the males at that size. Like, and I mean, I'm happy because it's giving her that interaction. I am not one of those people that feel like every turtle species is a solitary animal that has to be by itself. Again, I'm no scientific expert, but if you and I go out on the river right now, well, not now because it's kind of winter, but in the middle of summer, bro, you're not going to find one turtle by itself. Like in Florida, you're going to find 20 turtles on one log. Like there's part of me that feels like they interact, bro. They interact.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with females, because like you said, especially with terrapins, the males are usually off doing their own thing, and you don't see them until even breeding season. So those ones you might see by themselves, but a lot of the other species in the ponds and stuff, yeah. So, but dude, we gotta do this because I've been biting at the chomp this whole entire time.
Okay.
So you have the picture.
I think we should go kind of step and tell them our thinking and then what we've decided to do. Does that work? Sound good? All right. So for the viewers, we are around the 30-minute mark, and we're not going to take up much more of your time. We wanted a nice, chewable episode for you tonight. But one thing that Ed and I have really been working hard to do and things we've been thinking about is bettering the podcast and bettering our branding. So something that's been important to us is revamping the things we do, being more intentional with the things we do, but also making it more presentable.
Yeah.
And so starting January 1st, when the new year hits, it might not be exactly the first, but it will be in the new year. We've kind of rebranded different things in regards to the podcast. And so one of the things we did is, as many of you guys know, the podcast has been featured on the Swamp Life Reptiles YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, which is great. But the podcast at this point has its own identity within itself. And so we want to give it specifically a logo that's different from Ed's logo with Kimura Outdoors and different from my logo of Swamp Life Reptiles, something that people are like, hey, that's What the Shell podcast.
Yeah.
And so Ed kind of took on this mission to get us created a logo specifically. We've also created some different marketing and advertisement things that we're going to use. But what we're really excited about is to show you guys the logo. And so I'm going to go ahead and share the logo.
Yeah, like, Cody said, we'll have like, flyers for, What the Show podcast flyers. And, and obviously this is just a hint. If you ever want to be a guest on What the Show podcast, every guest from here on out, even in the past, is all going to get a flyer to be able to rock and to have on the house. I think, just as a courtesy thing.
We did start it off pretty well, but then what we found is having a weekly podcast made it really hard to get out the flyers. And so I'm going to touch on that about in the new year. But here is the logo. Can you see it, bro?
Yes, got it. So What the Shell. And now if we were alive, we'd be like, well, what shell is that? Well, obviously you had to pick the one. I had to pick the one that, showed the most characteristic, which is the concentric diamondback terrapin, just because you just can't get over those markings, because although some other ones may be more beautiful in the skin and I mean, you almost can't beat a big, bold, just in your face concentric marking. So
I think it's also the only species of turtle that we both in common like. I'm not big about snappers, but you like snappers, whereas I like spotted turtles and box turtles,
Yeah, and I think the big thing that, not only just to put it just because we love it, but, not a lot of people have stuff out there for terrapins,
Yeah.
And we see a couple people out there, like Jenna, with some pins and stickers, and that's awesome. Like we need to promote the species more. I think this is a way to be able to navigate the species a little bit better and promote them to their due diligence, since we touch on them so often, to where, to be able to intrigue, people's curiosity and, and ask questions and, whatever you might have it, So I just think, with the new year and the new revampment and, all the stuff that we have going on and we'll be having in store for you guys, whether it's the holiday season with some awesome pre-recorded episodes, into the new year where, Cody, if you'll touch on, how the different schedule setup that we're going to do. We have to, you always have to recalibrate. And I know there's so many podcasts out there and that aren't even video podcasts, live video, let alone, that you see kind of simmer down a little bit. And because of the workload this is a workload. And the guests and let alone, family time and just balance, and we want to make sure that we're giving you stuff, not just because, but because, that we can give you reputable, good quality substance stuff that, has taken time to establish and to share and not just a quick, fix, I guess you could say, in some way, shape or form, So Cody, if you want to touch on that, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that Ed and I really wanted to focus on was still having quality guests, but also providing time for our families. I can only speak for myself in this regard. I've definitely found the weekly podcast to be rather challenging with everything I got going on in my personal life and my family. Definitely.
I vouch, bro.
But we've also wanted to stay consistent and provide this for you. And so doing so, we wanted to cut down the number of podcasts we have. And so instead of going weekly starting in the new year, we're going to go bi-weekly. So we'll do 2 episodes per month. For the most part, they're every other week. But should we get in a situation where it's 2 back-to-back, then you'll just have 2-week break, obviously.
So wait, does that mean that, you have to fight a little bit more to get you a spot then? I mean, so.
Hey, might be, man. Hey, might be.
So, man, dude, look, this is a privilege for us, and we would hope that it's a privilege for anyone that wants to, be on, whatever lane it is. But I think, it just, if you not say, weekly thing isn't something to look forward to, but we want to make sure that that you look forward to those 2 days more than even those 4 days combined.
Right.
When you have something that you do less, then you almost, you get more excited about it, I guess you can say is the best way I could put it, And
I think the other thing you could say is by having less episodes, our podcast episodes, it allows viewers to plan better instead of, I'm not going to be able to watch because I can't make a weekly commitment of every Tuesday at 8. But if I know it's twice a month at 8, then it's a lot easier than, to tune in. And I mean, we do get a lot of views from people that aren't watching live. Like we get a lot of live views. Don't get me wrong. And by a lot, I mean more than 2 of us that watch this again. But a lot of our views come after the episode isn't live. And we appreciate that. You can watch it any day during the week. But we do want to make it more accessible and a lot easier for you guys to view, especially those with busy lives and family. I mean,
yeah, and I think a huge thing that that I think also is that with giving, go through any of our previous podcasts. I mean, there's so much that you can chew on just with one. If you took one podcast, really chewed on it, listen to it more than even one time, I think you would learn something new each time you listen to it, like reading a good book. But with that being said,
or getting a good sermon.
Yeah. But with that being said, every week you have a limited time. There you go. You have a limited time to be able to actually dig into it. So if we have a really good, great, knowledgeable in whatever lane they are to be a guest to share some good stuff that we believe, not just as a hype up, that you can really learn and grasp and take hold on just whatever lane you are. I think extending the period allows you to have another week to chew on what you've just learned and processed, because you go by week, next thing you know, you might have listened to it once, but there's far more that you could have been able to actually get out of it if you would have had more time to listen to it. Right.
I agree.
So I think that is
one thing I was going to say that I've had a couple people message me and say this, like, hey, great podcast. I'm about 3 episodes behind, but I'm trying to catch up. Like, I don't necessarily mind that because I love that you're able to watch them, but I think it's more satisfying to know, hey, we've given you enough time to where you're not behind and you can be up to date with the topics we're talking about. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think also, to touch base on, if by doing that frees us up, me and Cody, to be able to explore and navigate different things that we want to do for you and give to you. Having guests, on is incredible. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. But we also want to always 2-3 steps ahead. And we want to be able to actually give you good content in different ways that we can navigate, that we can come up with to pioneer, to be able to give you guys. Because we want this to not just be a podcast for it, just a normal podcast. We want this to be an experience overall for you. So it frees us to be able to give you new, fresh, different stuff and outlooks of wildlife and nature and different perspectives. And there's going to be so much incredible stuff coming up this new year and open doors for you guys to be able to, experience that. Just one thing we just ask you is just buckle up, because, the new year is going to be great in all cylinders for both of our lives are, changing and, they're great. But, that opens up also more ways to be able to share with others, what we love, and what we continue to do and why we love it, because we look forward to this just as much as you guys do, I'd hope, because you're meeting some amazing people, and you're right there sitting there with us. So yeah.
No, man, I'm excited. We are nearing the end of this podcast for sure. I appreciate anybody who sat here and watched us talk about the things that we're doing, the things that are important, how we're improving. Because we didn't have a special guest on tonight, but we needed a break, in all honesty.
You, me, I mean, we are special, right? We're all special. We're our own guests, man. Come on, we got to give a
Hey,
little bit more show time to these people.
our
I
special guest is Florida Ed because
mean,
this is the last go round with Florida Ed, man.
Florida.
So
See, that doesn't even sound right, man. Like it just doesn't
Ohio
sound.
Ed.
I mean, there's a reason why there's a buck on my, and that ain't no Florida buck. I can tell you right now. That's the buck that's on my arm. That's on the wall. That's from the beginning, one of the beginnings that rooted and established why I'm even doing this right now.
Hey,
So I'm excited to get down home. You guys, you will see and Cody will probably attest way before anyone else. You're probably going to see a whole new me. You're going to see a whole new me because
I got to be honest with you, bro. I've never said this, but now that you're leaving Florida, I can say it, bro. I am partially against hunting, bro.
that's fine. Everyone has their own opinion. I'm not even getting all political with you.
Okay, I'm not going to get political, but my question is this: what is the benefit of hunting deer?
Number one, management.
Okay,
So if you don't manage the population, um, then you have a lot more accidents and you cause a lot more
okay.
harm than good. So what happens is there's multiple, different things between traffic. How many times you can
Is
look at
there
the numbers.
nothing that manages them naturally? This is complete curiosity, honestly.
Other than predators, there's very minimal other than up north and out west, of natural predators you know, of livestock, like deer, considered livestock to that caliber.
What
Whether you
eats
got
deer in Ohio? Nothing. So really, the only predator are humans. So if there's nothing to keep that population in control, that's where you're saying it becomes more deadly for humans.
yes, because not only do you have more road casualties, fatalities. I mean, look at the statistics in deer hit. I mean, I just heard last week 2 people got into major accidents, and now they're dealing with all kinds of different issues for that.
Right.
But also another big thing, not just taking that instance, but taking another step forward is disease. I mean, if you have a multitude of livestock, deer, animals population, I mean, you're more susceptible to whether a deer gets sick, whether it's CWD, chronic waste, disease. That's a big one up north, somewhere in Michigan, and it's not huge and it's not really big in Ohio, but it's still it's a possibility, and if that spreads, then it kills whole entire livestock. So a big, you got to think about it, from a reptile community also this aspect. You want good quality population, right? That's what's healthy. So by managing the population, you're managing the population to create a healthy herd, a healthy numbers, healthy genes, and because you got to think, all these deer, whether they're big bucks or not, I mean, they all have, their own genes that they carry and pass down through generations, so you want good quality genes and you want good quality numbers because that's what's most sustainable going forward, for the animal and for humans to coexist. Because guess what, guys? These aren't turtles that this is going a whole. This is not even part of reptiles, but it kind of is. But you're not dealing with reptiles and turtles that live mainly in their aquatic nature atmosphere, whether they're tortoises or turtles. But you see with tortoises crossing the road all the time. I mean, if so I mean it's no different than deer. But the difference with deer is that they're running around a lot more. They're
They're kind of dumb.
No, they're actually really not.
I'm talking about when they're crossing the road, man.
Well, that's because dude, if you're in the middle of the night or something, you see a giant, 2-ton, yeah, you'd stop dead in your tracks, maybe too. Also,
but between stopping dead in your tracks and like one of my coworkers, she had a deer sideswipe her, like running into ongoing traffic. Like to us as humans, that sounds really dumb. Like you can't think of very many humans that would do that. And so that's why I say it's dumb. Not necessarily the animals not thinking,
I know.
but we have to think like to a lot of these animals, a car is not something that's natural to them. Like I watched a video and it was they were trying to find some Florida panthers down in the Everglades. Well, what they did is they found a deer population and they played Florida panther growl and they wanted to see if the deer reacted to it, because if they reacted, that means they knew what the predator was. And they reacted. So like that's something they're used to. They might not be used to a car, like
yeah. Yeah.
And so I think I'm not against hunting in that regard. I am definitely against hunting and not harvesting the animal and eating it. Like if you're gonna kill an animal like a deer, why waste the meat? You know what I'm saying?
No, and honestly, as much as I love hunting, it gives me peace. It gives me joy that I can experience nature.
Right.
There's not much other things that you can do that you can intentionally be out in nature, in a tree stand or in the ground, and be able to actually be quiet, just experience the noise, the birds, the
right,
whatever it is, and be able to be one with nature, especially if that's what you love. There's no amount of peace that that anything else will bring you, especially if that's your passion, especially when it comes to animals. And obviously, other than that, it's being able to provide for my family. I'm huge on how I grew up. We always had reserves in the freezer. We always lived off the land. We lived off the land, off the animals.
What else do you hunt, bro?
What else do I hunt? Mainly just deer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like my brother's I don't want to say a big hunter. I don't know what a big hunter would be considered, but he's hunted. I'll say one animal that I think more people should consider hunting is like wild boars.
I have hunted for them, but I wasn't shooting them. I actually went out bare hands with dog and bait them up and hog tied them and actually relocated them. So I didn't kill, but I have went hog hunting. That's a whole different adrenaline rush. But them things stink. They're nasty, and I'm not going to have.
You can't always eat them.
No, not really. You can, and they're not bad at all. But I prefer my good quality northern deer, because the deer down in Florida are about the size of my Rhodesian Ridgeback. That I will just put that out there. But
what about turkeys? You ever hunted turkeys?
Oh yeah. That's another one. Not as big as deer, but yeah. So I'm excited to get back to.
I've only been hunting once, bro.
Well, I mean, dude.
You want to know what I hunted? Quail.
Really? Out of all things? Man.
I went quail hunting with a buddy of mine.
Pheasant hunting's a good one. Rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting. I've actually, now that's all coming back to me. Bringing up childhood memories. But yeah.
You ever been duck hunting?
Huh?
Have you ever been duck hunting?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that. Going out in the waders and hunkering down geese. All that good stuff. Yeah. It'll be an experience, because guess what? We might even have to.
You been gator hunting?
No, just because you have to go into drawing and get picked, and I haven't even ventured into that. So
a couple years back, my brother went gator hunting. He went with They do like, what are they called? Like charters, where you go with people that already have their thing, and you get to keep so much. And he did it, and it looked like an awesome experience. As a reptile guy, it would probably bother me that you're killing this gator. But I mean, it's also, like you said, population control. Like the amount of alligators in states like Florida and Louisiana.
Yeah, if you never have a management practice in place, then you're really doing the species injustice by just letting them do, whatever, especially, and don't get me wrong, that's only per se for a something that can reproduce to a magnitude that, on some of the animals that we're referring to. We're not saying you need to control the population of the terrapins and certain things. I mean, we all know that a lot of the animals that, we're referring to, that we speak about on all these, they are, they're getting threatened, and they're facing a lot of issues just to even try to maintain, so that's why we're giving you knowledge, about doing this.
Yeah, so, man, I gotta admit that was completely.
So you'll be doing a hunt trip here soon. So.
Hey, I gotta admit that was completely off topic. It was just something that I felt
that's good.
like.
That's why we learn something new every day. And
hey.
So you guys think you're coming on for a What Show podcast, and you learn about a little bit of whitetail deer management, man. I'm all for that, man.
Hey, can I tell you real quick before we end? My bigger concern when I was quail hunting. All right,
yeah.
So you're familiar with how to quail hunt, right? You get the dog, they stir up the birds in the bushes, and then you shoot the birds. All right. The dog was so close to the bird, and you're shooting a buckshot. I'm like, bro, if I shoot this guy's dog, like I know how I'd react if somebody shot my dog. Like it was just,
yeah.
I don't know. It was a lot of tension because you're like, dog is man's best friend, and at a certain point, like when I had the shotgun and the bird's getting up, the best shot was when the bird was closer to the ground, so I could just nail it. But then as I let it sail up and it caught the wind, I'm like, dang, I keep missing. But I'm like, I'd rather miss that bird and let the guy to the left than shoot this dog. Like,
yeah, and that's a big thing why, I'm not too big on with the dogs, but just because of the aspect, that's why when I went out with the hogs, we were bare hands, man.
Yeah.
So no guns, no nothing. And it felt more of a natural kind of hunt, and
yeah,
it was cool, man. So there's always some experience, and
one day we'll go hunting. I'm trying to do the whole thing, man. Get covered in deer pee and whatever else it is that you guys do.
Estrus. I'm gonna dump a whole bottle of estrus on top of your head.
Yeah, man. I want to wear the camouflage with the
and then I'm gonna put you out there in a little deer suit. And you're gonna be just like that dog.
Hey, I'm not doing it unless it's a tree stand too, because every movie or show I've seen has a tree stand where they're like hanging out and then like, oh, there it is. So,
off topic, but guess what? It's fun. It's interactive, and that's the one thing that we love about this show is that we can just kind of be real and just kind of just talk, man, and be real. So yeah, sorry about that whole thing, but hey, man.
They could end it if they didn't want to watch us talk about it.
That's fine.
Who cares? All right, guys, we appreciate you for watching another episode of our podcast. It's been a great one. This was Lucky. What
you didn't even let me do my part, man. We already.
I'm not gonna end it, bro. I still got your part.
Oh, I was like, golly, man.
What I was gonna say was this is Lucky number 25. This is like the quarter mark. I feel like when we hit 100, we gotta have a celebration. I already have the celebration in mind. That's a long ways out, but we're gonna have a celebration.
Yeah. Let's go to it for a 50 piece, and then
yeah,
we'll work on the dollar. We'll give everyone every comment $1. I don't know. I don't know. Don't take my word for that, please.
No.
I got twins.
But yeah, guys, this is 25. We appreciate you for tuning in. We will see you next week. We have an exciting one.
Yeah, it's going to be good, man.
Ed, do you want to tell them who we have so they know to tune in, or are we going to hold on?
I just know if you're a croc lover, any kind of crocodilians, you don't want to miss this one. Even big snakes, too. This is one that we haven't had someone on that's in depth like he is. I've been following him for a while, and I'm excited to get to know him better and what he does, because you can see from his pictures, from his videos, it's like, dude, this is a dude that you'd be like, no way and ever or why are you doing what you're doing?
It's gonna be a good one, bro.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, so
it's gonna get real wild if you catch my drift.
Yeah. So
real wild. Well, we appreciate you guys for watching. This has been another episode of What the
Jail
Podcast.
Podcast.
Didn't miss his part, still got him in. And we will see you next week, guys. Have a good evening and make sure you go and vote. The presidential election is important, regardless of who you're voting for. Make sure that your voice is heard.
You got it, brother.
All right. Yes, sir.